The theme of this pastoral year 2020-2021 is You Are My Witnesses. The section 3 of the pastoral letter mentions the various areas where we can be witnesses of Christ. In this section, the 5th subtitle speaks of bearing witness by safeguarding and upholding social justice. In this subtitle, the pastoral letter tells us that social justice is an essential element to ensure unity, love, and peace in the society. We all know that social transformation through social justice is the core of Jesus' mission, which was reflected in the pastoral letter 2 years back, and which is made very clear in Luke chapter 4 verse 18, where Jesus said, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because He has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight to the blind, to set the oppressed free." Let us not forget the social dimension of our Christian life. It's always a challenge when we get involved in bringing social justice. Jesus was bold and courageous to challenge the social injustice of his times. As a reason, he faced tremendous opposition and threat to his life. I once visited a well-known social worker who faced severe hardships and threats for taking issues relating to social justice in the society. When I asked him from where his strength to continuously fight for justice amidst facing so much of threats and difficulties comes, he replied by asking me, "Which type of trees do children stone?" What do you think? Which type of trees do children stone? Correct. I told him that same thing, that children only stone fruit-bearing trees. So he said, likewise, whenever we get involved in the society and especially work towards social justice, we are like fruit-bearing trees. There will be many who will stone at you. Be prepared for it. He continued further, but the tree does not stop bearing fruit just because it is being stoned, but continues to give fruits. So also I, in spite of all opposition and challenges, I continue to be socially involved like a fruit-bearing tree. But he further challenged me by asking me, "Has anyone stoned you ever in your life? And if no one has stoned you, then you should think that you are a tree that has not yet borne fruits, that challenges the injustice in the society." In the present circumstances, when the human rights violation is rampant, when fundamental rights of the poor are totally neglected, the marginalized and minorities are facing uphill battle, witness to Christ by upholding social justice needs tremendous courage. In such a situation, there is a strong tendency to be indifferent, to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to injustice around us, out of our selfishness and fears that we may lose our possessions, our privileges, our powers, our position. The pastoral letter also mentions in today's society, some categories of people are kept out of the social circle. No one cares for such excluded people. They are ostracized, exclusion. Or else the poor and the deprived are ignored while the affluent class is treated well. Inequality. Here I would like to recall the plight of the migrant workers during the pandemic. They were the hardest hit. During the pandemic, they got deprived of work, of shelter, and money. They got stranded in our cities, facing hunger and health risks. So many of them walked hundreds of kilometers at a stretch with their families, their children, their elderly parents, without food, without water, to get back to their homes. Even after reaching home, they were not spared by their villagers, stigmatizing them that they might have brought infection along with them. This shouldn't have happened to people who build our homes, our roads, our bridges, people who cultivate our farms and keep our cities clean, people who help us to run our business and work for us. Such a behavior towards migrant workers during the lockdown in a way displayed the attitude of use and throw culture towards them, which has been mentioned in Evangelii Gaudium number 53, which has been quoted in the Pastoral letter. In this apostolic exhortation, Pope Francis points to us that human beings are themselves considered consumer goods to be used and then discarded. We have created a throwaway culture which is now spreading. So one of the areas we need to work to bring social justice is to eradicate exclusion and inequality which comes along with the throwaway culture. Social unity is important in order to achieve social justice. Jesus himself has taught us that we are all children of God and brothers and sisters to one another. True love is founded on justice, where everyone is treated with dignity and everyone's rights are respected. Only justice can bring lasting peace. So we are called to be witnesses of Christ at our workplace, in our business, in our professional work, by being faithful to the values of the kingdom, which are justice, truth, and righteousness. It demands that each one contributes first towards social justice and also work to see that others around us also contribute to the same. Social justice is an integral part of our faith and very central to Christian life. I would like to mention the appeal that Pope Francis makes in the apostolic exhortation, Evangelii Gaudium. He says, an evangelizing community gets involved by word and deed in people's daily lives. It bridges distances. It is willing to abase itself if necessary, and it embraces human life, touching the suffering flesh of Christ in others. Evangelium Gaudium number 24. In the same apostolic exhortation, Pope Francis challenges us, where he says, I prefer a church which is bruised, hurting, and dirty because it has been out on the streets, rather than a church which is unhealthy for being confined and for clinging to its own security. I do not want a church concerned with being at the center and then ends up at being caught up in the web of obsessions and procedures. Evangelium Gaudium number 49. Caritas Goa, Council for Social Justice and Peace, and Center for Responsible Tourism have been carrying the social apostolate of the Archdiocese through social welfare and through social action. During the lockdown due to COVID-19, Caritas Goa, through its projects, especially Childline and Center for Deafblind, has reached out to many migrants, workers, supplying them groceries and other essentials. Likewise, so many religious congregations, parish communities, diocesan bodies and institutions, other groups of civil society, and also people in their individual capacity have supported the migrants and the poor during the lockdown in a big way. This work will have to be continued because the situation of financial difficulties among people continues and is increasing, as many people have lost their jobs and their livelihood. The Council for Social Justice and Peace is involved to facilitate the parishes to work towards social justice. Forming social action forums in each parish helps in carrying this work in an organized and sustained manner. Those parishes that have organized themselves into such social action groups have been able to deepen their knowledge and understanding of the social teachings of the Church, and also work towards social justice in their own villages with an impact. It is very important that all of us be alert, responsible, and well-informed citizens. Our work in social justice and social action will be effective when we organize ourselves and share the work and responsibilities. We also need to learn and reflect together in our society with the guidance and the inspiration taken from the social teachings of the Church. In order to make our witnessing in safeguarding and upholding social justice, let us be proactive and get involved in the society. Let us work towards establishing the Social Action Forum in our parishes, which will enable us to collectively contribute towards social justice. And through formation in the social teachings of the Church, let our prophetic role emerge from strong convictions.